Hi. Okay. My name is Aidan Smith. I go to Collin College, and today I'm going to be talking about medical marijuana, specifically how medical marijuana affects the disease known as epilepsy. Now, a very common, I suppose, symptom of epilepsy is seizures, and we're going to probably be more focusing on that aspect of of marijuana. So we're going to start out with the abstract that I have on the top left of my poster. This is basically just going over what we're talking about, what I'm trying to detail, what I'm trying to um, really say specifically. So first of all, the study of medicinal effects of marijuana has been slightly controversial throughout the year. Many people label it as a gateway drug or as a simply just a drug that is dangerous for the human body. But all these misconceptions are all mostly just panic, mostly founded in personal opinion or the, I suppose, surroundings that they've been in. Now, this research, if you look at the top right of my poster, I have a section labeled "Why Does This Matter?" Now, this matters, well, for a load of reasons. Marijuana is actually extremely useful, um, especially with cancer, with epilepsy, with many different types of diseases. And were we to legalize marijuana in a medicinal way, this would let pharmaceutical companies, doctors, um, et cetera, to definitely revolutionize the way they treat their patients. So, to the cannabis conundrum, as my group's slogan has been named, let's go over some of the cons first. So that way we can just save the best for last, shall we? Almost every study conducted on the subject has a lack of data or a lack of conclusive data. Now, this may seem like a very big thing, but it's actually not that big a deal. So, what that basically means is that a lot of the different strains of marijuana are very different in how they act, but that's not the whole point of marijuana, because while you have different strains, there is a specific well, there are two specific chemicals that come out of marijuana, which is tetrahydrocannabinol, which is THC for short, or cannabis oil, or CBD for short. Now, there are some studies, or I guess I should say most of the studies, that the reason their data isn't so quote unquote conclusive is because they're not using their experiments based on every single strain of marijuana there is. They're just using it as a lab grown, very specific type of marijuana bred for medicinal use. So the worry there is, well, which strain is the best? How do we figure that out? Et cetera, et cetera. Which also leads us to the second point on the cons. It's extremely unreliable in its treatment. Now, this is also not necessarily true. The reason that I put that as a con is because, again, going back to the different strains, it really depends on the strain that you use, which affects how medicinal it really is. So let's say we have one strain A, which treats a specific disease like epilepsy, like 90% of the time, but we have another one that only treats it like 20% of the time. Obviously, we would want to go with strain A. Now, what we have found, there was a specific study. Let me see if I can remember which one it is. So this one is SADOC M. This was a study. If you want, this is actually part of the. this is actually one of the sources that, if you look on the sides of my poster, you can find this one. This journal goes over the experience of 5 epileptic Israeli patients being prescribed with cannabis oil as a treatment. The results of this experience shows that there was a significant positive effects on the patients due to them averaging a 50% decrease in seizing episodes. Now that's only half. That's only half. That's only 50%. Now this is kind of worrisome. However, that's not conclusive at all. However, I still believe personally that that's an amazing decrease compared to using, like, I guess, prescription drugs. Going on to number 3, can be extremely unsafe, as there are hundreds of different strains of cannabis. I'm sure you're noticing a pattern with these cons. There's just a randomized effect, I guess I should say, with depending on the different strain you use. Now, number 4 needs far more research in order to actually be viable in medical society. Now, this is completely true. We need tons and tons and tons more research into medical marijuana, into its effects, into its uses, and all of that different kinds of research. Now, the way you could research this is volunteers. I'm sure there are so many people that would very much be willing to try medical marijuana, as long as they have at least some guarantee that it'll help at least a little bit. I'm sure there are tons that could sign contracts. The main problem is the fact that medicinal marijuana is illegal basically everywhere. Moving on to the guts of the matter is the pros of using medical marijuana. Number 1, healthier than normal drugs. I'm sure this is very, very obvious. It is a normal herb. It is something that you can grow straight out of the ground. It's not synthesized. It's not chemically created or anything like that. It is grown straight out of the ground, and that, in my personal opinion, that is a lot healthier than taking any kind of synthesized prescription drugs. Number 2, essentially every experiment agrees upon its efficiency. This is very, very true. Every source that I found on this topic agrees that there is at least some use for medical marijuana, especially for epilepsy. If we go to, let's see here. The first source, Colasanti, gosh, how do you pronounce this guy's name? Colasanti BK. The effects of marijuana cannabinoids on seizure activity in cobalt epileptic rats. So this article goes over an experiment over the effects of a couple different chemicals on epileptic rats, namely delta-8 tetrahydrocarbonyl and cannabis oil, as I stated earlier. They found that cannabis oil does not affect the frequency of seizures. However, both the delta-8 THC and delta-9 THC drastically reduce the frequency of seizures. Now, if we go to the second one on my sources, this article details the study that tests the effects of cannabis oil on 8 human volunteers. Oh, by the way, this is Kunha J.M. Effects of cannabis oil on 8 human volunteers afflicted with epilepsy. Out of the 8 tested over the 30-day period, 4 of the volunteers experienced little to no convulsive seizures. 3 experienced partial improvement, and 1 had no reaction. All right, moving on. Again, as I stated, pretty much all of these agree that these all have extremely strong anticonvulsant effects. Now, these experiments, these researches, many people question, well, what is the point? Like, I thought that these were homegrown, not chemicals. Well, there's chemical agents in basically everything. Everything I experience is a chemical reaction. Anyways, moving on. Number 3, tetrahydrocarbonyl seems to be very effective in treating the seizing symptoms of epilepsy, as well as number 4, both THC. Well, I'll move on to number 4 in a minute. However, what we should go over here is treating the seizing symptoms of epilepsy. Now, a lot of the people who are afflicted with epilepsy agree that the main problem that they experience is the seizures. And if they did not experience the seizures, things would be a lot easier. And I agree. However, if we use this drug, if we use this herb for medical treatments on epilepsy, I believe that we could very much help these people out, as all of these experiments have agreed that it's very effective. Number 4, now this is a very big one. Both THC and CBD seem to be very effective in treating cancerous conditions as well. This is huge. We see I believe there's a couple, let me see if I can find it. Yes, here we go. Johnson J.R. MT, multi-center, double-blind, randomized, placebo-controlled, parallel group study of the efficiency, safety, and tolerability of THC, CBD extract, and THC extract in patients with intractable cancer pain. So, this study was conducted in order to compare the efficiency of the different chemicals that you can get from marijuana and also a placebo on patients with acute cancer pain. What was found was that patients taking the placebo and THC did not experience any less pain. However, the patients taking the THC/CBD extract experienced a drastic decrease in pain. This is huge. Now, it's not necessarily saying that this is a cure for cancer. However, this is a very viable solution. This is a very viable, not contraceptive, but replacement for the thousands of different painkillers that you could take that horribly hurt not only your digestive tract, but just like your mind. Painkillers are, taken a large dose, are very, very bad for you. Number 5, medical marijuana has been used for a very, very long time, going far back as 2000 BC. This is also true. I believe it is. I'm trying to find the source just so we're on the same page here. I can't find it. Well, anyways. So medical marijuana has been used for a very long time. In fact, it was only recently made illegal, I believe only a couple hundred years ago. It was made illegal in complete honesty, it was made illegal for a racist reason. It was made illegal due to believing that it made white women want to get with black men. Obviously, that's a very racist thing, and we should not be focusing on that at all. But moving on, it's been used for a very long time. Dozens of different uses, dozens of different experiments with it that all point to the same thing. It is very useful for many different kinds of things, not just epilepsy. So moving on to my my conclusion, and I personally believe that there is absolutely no reason that we shouldn't be using this for medical use. The only cons presented throughout this project has been things that could be solved with just more research into the herb. The pros, it's extremely effective against epilepsy, against seizures, even cancer as well. I really don't see any huge cons against using this in today's society. So yeah, that's it. I really wish I was there to answer any questions that you guys had. Unfortunately, I can't personally be there. I'm going to be at my brother's wedding. So I hope you guys learned something throughout this. I hope you guys hopefully maybe share the same viewpoint as I have now. So yeah, thank you so much. Hope you guys have a wonderful day and enjoy the rest of the symposium.